Okay, good morning, everybody. I am Helen Nibs. I'm your final speaker for the week. I am an intuitive business consultant and coach, and I'm really glad that you're here with me today. And we're going to be talking about how to harness your intuition in business. So let's get started, shall we? Okay, let me just check we are live. Okay, so if you have any questions, please put them in the chat and I will get to them just as soon as I can. So let's see if I can get my presentation shared with you. Okay, let's see if this is coming up here. Make sure everything is working okay. It's got eyeballs in a couple of places. Perfect. Yes. Okay. All right. Let me see if I can get that off. Don't know. Okay, so let's start. Okay, here we are. How to harness your intuition for business success. Okay, we're going to start out with a lot more text on the first slide than there are on the other slide, so don't be scared now. All right, we just got a few slides to go through. But I did want to start off by talking about what is intuition. Let's just start right there, right? Intuition in business. Those two things are talked about more these days, but not as much as I think they should be. Because intuition in business is a very underappreciated asset, but it can bring you a lot of success and it certainly drives innovation. You know, doing things the way we've always done them, not being creative, not taking that spark of that intuition, of that innovation that can come through, that is what drives companies forward. And that is where we want to help you develop that so you can have those breakthroughs in your business and develop it in your own way. I know everyone talks about, you know, oh, the world is moving so fast. There's always some new development. And of course, AI is being talked about all over the place right now. But there's always room for your company to move forward. And it doesn't always have to be the ways that everyone's talking about, you know, whatever's the topic of the week, for example, with AI. It could be wherever you're seeing a need in your company, in your market, in the audience that you're serving, how can you bring that forward? And those things don't, it's a balance of coming from without, but also from within. And that's where your intuition comes in. You know, if you're reading, for example, you're going to conferences and they're saying, oh, everybody else in our industry is doing this with their business. That's the way the world's going. Everyone else is doing this. But, you know, inside you're feeling like, I don't know, intuitively, I feel like something else is actually the unmet issue. Then it's about being brave enough to take that step forward and use your intuition and go for it, because you'll probably find, as you have probably many times before, that going with that intuition is what is going to drive your success. And if you're like most people, you will find the times that you did not act on your intuition, that's what you regret, rather than the times that you did. So intuition is basically really blending all of your experiences, your knowledge, and your emotional intelligence together. That's where those breakthroughs come through. That's where that intuition is talking to you from. Because you can't just walk in and with no experience whatsoever, perhaps in your business, and say, oh yeah, this is absolutely the way we should go. A lot of that comes from your experience. And it's when it really, you know, it's like when you simmer stock down in the kitchen, you know, you end up with something so much better at the end of it. That is what you're doing basically with your experiences, your knowledge, everything that you've come to in this point with life so far. This is what you're simmering it down to, and you're listening to that quiet inner voice. There is where your intuition is going to kick in. It's going to help you foresee potential opportunities and pitfalls that may not be obvious through rational analysis alone. So you can certainly look at the books or look at the trends and say, well, rationally, I think this is going to happen. But never discount that voice inside that's giving you insights to perhaps try something else, or listen to a different thought leader in a different industry and say, wow, they're taking it that way and that's working for them. That's an amazing thought I hadn't thought about applying to what I do. And numerous studies have shown that companies led by intuitive leaders experience higher employer satisfaction, increased creativity, and improved strategic agility. Wow, that's a lot in one sentence, isn't it? So why would an employee want to work for you if you are more intuitive as a leader? Because you're going to be excited about it. You're not just going to drag your butt into work and just be like, oh, it's the same old, blah, blah, blah. You're going to be excited about what you do. You're going to be excited about seeing all the opportunities that lay within your business, and you're going to be excited about taking it forward. People are always attracted to energy. Studies have shown as well that what you pay people with their salaries is very nice and everything, but that isn't what they stay for. People stay for the energy and people stay for the leadership. And right now, if I say to you, think of a job you left because of a manager or a leader, you can probably think of at least one job. It is so important. So when you become more intuitive and add that as a dynamic factor to your leadership, it's going to shift everything. Because you know how much it costs a company to turn over staff, to try and attract decent talent, and to make steps forward. You know, if you're thinking about expanding, getting more space for your business, sometimes you're going to have to go out on a limb. People are attracted to that. Increased creativity comes with that intuition, because it gives you that first step of bravery. You're going to have to follow through, but it perhaps gives you the first step that you can take on that pathway. And the improved strategic agility comes because you feel more flexible. You feel like, okay, I'm going to try this, and if it doesn't work, I'm going to modify what I'm doing. It doesn't have to be 3 steps set in stone. You can say, we're going to start out on this journey, we're going to see where it takes us, and we're going to go from there. So it gives you a little bit more wiggle room, and then it doesn't feel like a hard fail or success. You've got some room for error. And when people feel that they can fail, they're actually more likely to try and succeed. There's room there to do it. So when you harness your intuition, and I want you to think of something today that you've been kind of having that little thought about it and you haven't done it. So I want you to take an intuitive step forward today with your own business, just one little step, and see what that opens up for you. It's going to help you to navigate complex challenges. It's going to help you inspire your teams or the people that you're networking with. Because how many times you've been to a networking event and you hear someone talking and they're so excited about it, and you kind of like sidle up to the group because you're like, I don't know what they do, but I want to hear what this is all about. And it's going to help you create a vision for the future. Businesses change and morph all the time, and they're supposed to. So using your intuition to help guide that journey forward, it may not be in the straight line that perhaps you once envisaged, but it's going to resonate with you on a deeper and more authentic level. Okay, the next slide is a bit of fun. So this is what people imagine listening to your intuition looks like. But this is what it actually can look like. Steve Jobs was famous for listening to his intuition, for his vision of where technology should go. But it wasn't just, this is where technology could go. What he was bringing into it was like, this intuitively is what I feel that people would love to be able to do with a mobile device. And so much of that now we take for granted, right? But we didn't 30 years ago. So what he was like, I think people would want to be able to do this intuitively. If people could, can you imagine if you could bank on your phone? Can you imagine if you could connect, all around the world on your phone? Yeah, amazing. But he was thinking about not just like, well, let's get a phone and sell it, but he was thinking about how intuitively people would want to use it. So when you think of using your intuition, I do hope now that you will start to think of yourself more on the second category than the first. You do not have to be a wild person living in the woods for this to work for you. So why would leaders perhaps be afraid to use intuition in business? These are 5 great reasons, and you can probably think of several more. And it certainly depends on what profession you're in. If you are in a more analytical profession, then you might find it even more difficult to come out the intuitive closet on that one. You might be afraid of appearing unscientific, unlogical. All of those things. You don't want to appear like you're living out that hermit living out in the woods. You do want to appear in tune with everything, and that you are still relying on scientific and rational data. Because please note, I have not told you at any point to throw that out the window. You need that. There needs to be a balance with that. And some of the intuitive thought development can come from looking at the data and going, I see it, but there's something more, or this is the direction or pattern I think it's going with. There is the risk of accountability. You may be wondering, how can I be accountable for this? You may be reporting to a board of directors, to shareholders, to your employees, to yourself, to anyone. You're like, who am I responsible for reporting to, and how can I justify this? If you look at data and go, oh, well, the numbers said this, and people go, oh, okay. But when you say intuitively, I thought this might be the way forward, that's going out on a limb for some people. So there's the fear of that. Cultural norms. This may not be a big thing in your industry or in your area that you live. This may be a different thing for your family. This may be a different thing for your workforce. So you may be stepping outside of cultural norms if you start saying, let's look at it a different way. There's going to be personal doubt. Because here's the thing with intuition, you can't just, quantify it, pick it up, put it in a box. It's not very tangible, right? So you can start to get some personal doubt creep in. So we're going to talk about how to get around that a little bit further on, but I do want to say, start keeping a journal, start keeping some notes. So when you make a little intuitive step forward, write down the success or failure of that. And then your third column can be the unexpected. What happens with that? And then when you start to see that things are perhaps working better than you thought, then you will get braver and braver to listen to that inner voice. And another reason you may be afraid to use intuition is that there often is the pressure for immediate results. And intuition is not necessarily a quick fix. So you may have that pressure for immediate results and you're like, I don't know. But when you start using it every day, then you are going to start bringing in a little bit every day, a little bit every day. It's going to change how you work and what you do. And then hopefully you won't get to the point where you have a situation where you need an immediate result. This is one thing I get asked a lot. Why can't I tap into my intuition? You can. We just have to retrain our processes and our habits a little bit. Your intuition is a quiet voice within. Most of modern life is an extremely loud, noisy voice without. So guess what's going to win? The modern world can often be like a little toddler just yanking on your pant leg, mom, mom, mom. That is what the outside world is like. And your intuition is that quiet voice within. So sometimes it takes a back seat because of all the stuff we have going on. We've got phones, we've got distractions. I mean, you can't even fill it with gas at the gas station down the street from me without having, it's got like a little TV screen on the gas pump. And so the minute you start fueling, it's like blaring TV at you. I'm like, oh my God, I can't even have 2 minutes of peace and quiet filling up my tank. So the challenge is not to spend a week's retreat up a mountain doing yoga. It is how to carve seconds or minutes into your day to have that time of peace without distractions, so that you can start to refocus on yourself. And that is a very uncomfortable feeling for a lot of people. And we're very trained to, the minute, you'll see it, when people stand in line or whatever, the minute they get they're pulling out the phone and they're looking at their phone. So just try this over the next week. Instead of getting that immediate reaction to pick up your phone and to always have a distraction so that you're always focusing outside of yourself, just leave it in your pocket or leave it on your desk, and then just stand and look around. When you're waiting in line at the coffee shop, just stand and look around the coffee shop and just observe. Start becoming more present in your body. And when you become more aware of your body and your mind, then you will start to become more aware of your intuition. So just do it, little bits, little bits, little bits. Retrain your brain. And I love this. And I think you're going to love it too. There are different types of intuition. And I think that this might be a really good gateway for some of you to start thinking about intuition in a different way. So I've listed 4 different types of intuition: emotional, strategic, operational, and social. So you can look at this list and you can probably think, right, just see right off the bat, you know what, I think I'm better at that one. Because I bet there's one of them that you're better at than the others. So if you were thinking, I don't think I'm a very intuitive person, I don't think I have a handle on this, start picking out one of these, and I'll go into them in a second, that you think, yeah, I kind of resonate with that a little bit, and start working on that angle and go from there. So the emotional intuition is more about understanding people's emotions and feelings. I mean, perhaps some people would call that an empath. The trouble with people calling themselves an empath is they tend to say, oh, I absorb everyone's emotions and feelings, and now I have to just go and lay down for a week. No, we don't want to do that. With emotional intuition, it says understanding emotions and feelings. So perhaps you might be more aware of other people's emotions, feelings. If you're pitching an idea in a meeting, you might be very much more aware of the emotions in the room than someone else. Maybe someone who's more operational, you might be very much more in tune with the fact, I've just pitched this idea and everyone else is sitting around thinking, or they're worried about how it affects their job or their role or how this is going to affect the company. So you can be much more emotionally aware. This can be used in some great ways. You've also got strategic intuition. This is like the person who's got amazing insights for long-term planning. This can be the person who is very intuitive when it comes to trends, when it comes to understanding, kind of like, Steve Jobs was doing with understanding this might be the way that people are going to want to work. And to be able to kind of come up with a concept of seeing 20 years down the line and just going, wow, if we could do this, think how it would change how people operate in the world. Oh, amazing. There's operational intuition, which is about day-to-day decision making. This is the person that you want as your solid COO, right? They have amazing insights on how the day-to-day decision making and processes could be made better. Not just logically, but they can come in and they can see intuitively what would make things better. And there's also social intuition, which is reading people in situations. Probably not in as emotional way as the first one, but you are very good at reading those people and those situations and seeing intuitively. Have you ever been to a networking event and you start talking to one person, you're like, great, and then you go to talk to another and you're like, wait a minute, these 2 people have got to meet. And then you drag the second person over to meet the first one. I've done that. Because I'm like, you 2 have got to meet. This is amazing. You 2 have got some stuff you need to talk about. So let's go into it a little smidge more. So with the emotional intuition, it's being able to understand and interpret those emotions without relying just on conscious reasoning. So when you're listening to people in a meeting, you can understand and interpret those emotions. But the difference between this and when people say they're an empath, you're understanding it, but you're not drowning in it. There's a difference. So this is a huge strength, because you can understand people's misgivings. And how important is this in a negotiation situation? You know, people may not be saying, I really don't want your idea, I really don't want your proposal, but it's like, why don't they? And this can really help in those situations, because you can be like, well, I can really, and you can address it. You can be like, I know, I really feel like you have misgivings because blah, blah, blah. And it gives them a chance to talk about it. This can be a very powerful and helpful thing. And, you know, I put a little case study on each of these. And I don't know if you followed it in the news, but Howard Schultz with Starbucks, when he came back, he revitalized it because he trusted his emotional intuition about the company culture. Company culture is a great example of emotional intuition. How does it feel in your company? What is the culture like? How can you change it? Where are the people's misgivings, and what could be addressed about that? Because when you address people's concerns and get to the bottom of things and improve it and have that vision of where you want to go, Starbucks had a huge turnaround, leading to record profits. And interestingly, I read an article about them the other day, that the culture has changed. People aren't going and sitting in the coffee shops, Starbucks coffee shops at the moment. They're doing more drive-through orders. That's where their business has switched to. And they were talking about the effect that it's had on their bottom line, because they initially started out with a culture of having people come into a coffee shop and have a very community setting. And now I think it was like 70% of their orders are drive-through. And so it's really lost that community, people coming together setting, which is what got them started in the first place. And so their bottom line has suffered, which was really interesting. So with strategic intuition, this can be that creative flash of insight, but it's going to be helping you solve problems in new ways. It's going to come through with breakthrough ideas, and this can be seen in so many fields: business, politics, art. It's like, how can you have that flash of insight, which is going to create a new way of people looking at things? And, you know, I put on here about Steve Jobs because he had that vision for products that people didn't even know they needed. And Henry Ford was very famous for this too, when he was developing the car, because when they asked him about that, he said, well, if I'd have done what people thought they wanted, they'd have just asked for a faster horse. They didn't know that they wanted this. And it's thinking ahead to what people don't even know they need yet. This is a tremendous skill set. And I can't think of an industry that this wouldn't be a benefit in. So we have got, let's see, I'm not missing anybody's questions. Let me just double check. Okay. We also have operational intuition, which is, like I said, that CEO kind of, well, if you're lucky, that CEO person who can make those quick and instinctive decisions based on their understanding of a particular operational context. They use their experience and their intuitive voice to come in, to know what the patterns are, but they anticipate the problems and they think of a different way of getting around that problem and solving that problem. This is usually done pretty quickly, and it should be done trying to think of the word, detached, in a more detached way. This can often be a consultant role as well, coming into your company, because the consultant will tend to be more detached. They haven't worked with some of the people in your company for years, and so they can have that detached air about them when they come in and do this. Their opinions and a fresh way of looking at things can be revolutionary. For example, if you have an organizational chart for your company, a lot of the times it has people's names on it as well as their job role. Try doing it where you take people's names off and you're left with the job roles only. And then all of a sudden, when you lose that emotional concern about people's roles, all of a sudden you can see ways to rearrange perhaps the organizational structure of your business. So try doing things like that to give yourself a bit of a kickstart and intuitively go, wow, if I was starting again, how would I restructure? How would I do this? The case study for this one is Sarah Blakely with Spanx. She used her intuition for product development and marketing. So how could you bring in, not only for organizational things, but how could you bring this in for product developer marketing? You know, you might be seeing online, everyone says, oh, well, to be successful in marketing, you need to do this, this, and this. That's the only way to go. But when you think of your product, you're like, I don't think that's how it's going to connect with people. I'm going to try this instead. See if that works. With social intuition, it's the reading people in situations. It is a natural skill, so it's inherent. We can all work on it. It is very important in successful interactions. This can be very helpful in networking and building industry collaborations. Great example of this is Oprah Winfrey, sorry, who has, I think we can all agree, a very intuitive understanding of what her audience needs. The key with that is not only did she build her media empire, she built a loyal following, a very loyal following, because people really felt that she was understanding what they were looking for, that she was doing things for very admirable reasons, and they felt that her mindset was something that they could absolutely resonate with, and they felt that she was very approachable. So think about bringing some of this and practicing your social intuition, and think about how you could build your following and build your collaborations. This is about working with others, and think about unusual collaborations that you could do in your industry that might work really well for all concerned. So how are we going to develop our intuition as a leader? It's going to enhance your decision making, your leadership effectiveness, and your strategic foresight. So try these 7 things. We've got meditation and mindfulness, but don't feel like you have to start by an hour's meditation a day. Just try that I was talking about earlier. Just put your phone down for a minute. Just take a minute of recentering. And do that like every hour. You know, when you get up to go and get a cup of coffee, just stand there and just, you know, while you're waiting for the coffee machine to work or whatever, just stand there and just like regroup, take stock, become more mindful, become more observant. Journaling your thoughts and feelings is a huge one, because if you start journaling about an issue, just write, like stream of consciousness writing, and then you can just put it away and then come back to it later and be like, oh, I had an insight there. If you start journaling, you know, issues that are coming up in your business and be like, I have no idea what to do about this, blah, 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 blah. This is the problem. This is the problem. Then write it down, get your subconscious mind working on it. Paying attention to your gut reactions. If you are negotiating a deal, if you are trying to negotiate changes in the market, and you're just like, I am really, it makes me feel a bit the way the company's going on whatever issue it is, pay attention to that, because something is not sitting right. Is there a way to do it better? Is there a way to do it more aligned with your values? There probably is. So let's see how we can do that. Because the more aligned you become with your authentic values, the more things are going to flow for you. A lot of that comes from being the person that you want to be for yourself instead of disappointing yourself. So if you can say, I am the person who stands for this, that everything else starts falling into line. Reflect on your past intuitive successes. And that's when I said earlier, make that list of, when you make an intuitive decision, make a list of the pros and the cons and the kind of unexpected factors that come with that. What happened with that? Did it work out as you expected? No, it didn't. But something else happened instead that actually turned out to be a good thing. Fabulous. So keep reflecting on those things and just go, look, this happened. May not have worked out great, but something else happened instead. I'm going to keep building on that. Continuous learning and adaptation. You can never stop learning in whatever industry you're in, because especially when you start to learn in a more rounded way, or when you attend, you might have to attend a lot of conferences for your business, but try and attend a conference or thought leader in another industry, because when you open your mind up to that, that is where the ideas are going to come from, or the insights are going to come from, and be like, oh, they're doing that. I never thought about that. That's quite interesting. What if we applied that thought to our industry? So make sure that you're stepping outside the bounds of whatever it is that you do, to see what everyone else, what is happening outside of your little narrow view, because we all get in it, and then see what you can bring to it. It will refresh what you're doing and give you so much more drive. Always balance data with intuition. The two do pair well, because when you see the data, that is where you can start to bring in those intuitive thoughts. Go by looking at the data, this might be where the trends are going to go. This might be what happens. What can I do with that? For example, with the changes in the housing market here in the States, with the interest rates, and it's one of the most unaffordable housing markets at the moment. So you can look at all the data that comes in on that and just be like, okay, well, if I want to keep on selling homes, then I can't rely on an outdated model. So what can I do to show my value as a realtor and get out there and connect with people using your social and emotional intuition? What can I do to connect with people and let them know that I'm in it for them, and I am the person to help them get what they need? Seeking diverse experiences, it's kind of the same as the continuous learning. The more experiences that you have, the better your intuition and your decision making is going to be. So if you've been stuck in your rut in your current job for a while, try doing a different role, or try doing it from a different perspective and see what comes up. That will be huge. There are so many ways that you can apply intuition to your business. Certainly strategic decision making, and sit down and have, like, every week or every month, a little CEO meeting with yourself, a little planning meeting with yourself, and be like, this is what I want to do this month. This is what I would love to see happen this year, and then follow along with that. Hiring and talent management, your intuition is going to come in amazingly well in this department. If you are interviewing candidates and intuitively you feel like, even if they're super qualified on paper, intuitively you're like, I really don't know about this one, take him from me, do not hire that person. You will end up regretting it. So use your intuition when it comes to interviewing and to resumes, and to the talent management is also people that you hire, companies that provide services for you. Don't just necessarily go with the one that has been referred to you. Keep looking around and seeing which one you have the best relationship with, or the one that you like their insights on. You can use your intuition in product development. See what people, you can intuitively start to feel into what people are going to be looking for, and don't keep offering things that people don't want just because you feel like you should. If you're a sandwich shop and you had 10 sandwiches on the menu and people only wanted a ham and cheese, then you might want to be rethinking the rest of your sandwich choices. Okay. So always keep looking at it. The marketing and branding, use your intuition in this as well. See how times are changing, see how people's mindsets are shifting. Know intuitively who you're talking to. With leadership and management, this comes, your use of intuition is huge here. You need the right team together, and you need that balance of people who can get things done operationally and people who have vision. You need a balance of those. Use your intuition with network and relationship building. Keep working on those relationships and keep bringing in people who challenge you just a little bit. Intuitively, for financial decisions, you may have to make a decision. You're just like, oh, I don't know if I can afford it, but intuitively, I feel that I need to invest in that training, or we really, really need to upgrade our computer and software systems. It's a stretch, but I really feel like we should do it. See where your intuition comes in with that. And for crisis management, everyone's least favorite thing, you need to get, I always say, have a crisis management plan for any company. Always have that written down. Same as a succession plan. You need those things, 2 crucial documents. But if you are working on your intuition, I feel that some crises can hopefully be avoided. You can hopefully see some of those pitfalls ahead on the road. And stay ahead of it. You might even start to think about, if you can see a problem in a product or a product you sell, your industry, and you can see how this is going to have issues in the future, you can even start to work with the media and start becoming an expert on the potential crisis in your industry, and you can speak to that and you can become an expert in it. So when you look intuitively ahead and you see some problems coming down the pike, it can be an opportunity for you, a huge opportunity for you to be that speaker and that expert, and to guide others intuitively away from what could be a huge crisis, because there's something in every industry. So thank you very much for listening today. If you've got any questions, of course, reach out and let me know. I want to hear from you, and I definitely want to hear your experiences with using your intuition more, how it works out for you, how you think you can get better at it, and what your success was this week. Because I want you to give it 7 days and try some things that you haven't tried before and see how it goes. And I want you to let me know. I want you to reach out and message me. I think we lost it. Okay, so reach out and let me know. Let me just switch this off recording.